Hello, everybody. This is Paul Herman, the Prince of Motivation and host of Zaka Presents My Journey. We're creating this vulnerable and positive platform where you get inspired and motivated from different leaders from our community. Today, our guest is Harish Chandramowli, who is a co founder of Flaire.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much for just being present and being here with us, and really being able to share your story. A lot of great things, a lot of great information that you're going to be sharing today. So I don't want to take up so much of your time. I want to dive right in and really let the listeners know a little bit more about your cultural background and where you grew up.
So I grew up in this place called Gobichettipalayam. The name is like a lot of my friends from India also do not remember because it's big. It's in the southernmost part of India. It's a small town. While growing up, I don't. It's one of the things I tell, like when people ask, like, "Hey, have you ever been wanted to be an entrepreneur and all those things?" I'm like, no. I don't think while growing up that's a place where I thought about all these things. But it's a beautiful place with beautiful people and a very different lifestyle.
Hmm. And when you grew up, did you have any siblings growing up? Like, what was that
Yes. I have
household?
sister.
A half sister, you said?
I had a sister,
Oh,
yes.
you had a sister. Okay, I'm
I
sorry.
have a
Yes.
sister.
So then, now growing up in India, right, and giving a little bit of understanding for some of the individuals that might not know geographically what India itself. Explain a little bit more about that.
Uh, Growing up in India, it's sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to explain that, but it's like little more communal system. You know everyone around you, you know your neighbors really well. And pretty much all my school teachers knows my parents. So
Okay.
anything you do in
Okay.
the school before you reach home, your parents would 100% know about it.
No, you was on speed dial. Are you trying to let us
Yes.
know something, Hadish? You
It's
gotta let us know about your school days? Were you with to trouble someone?
no.
Oh,
I
okay.
I think I was always in the middle, right? I was not the troublesome one, but I have never been like the top of the class or anything.
Okay,
It's kind
cool.
of like always in between, like no one notices. You stay there and it's done.
That's a good way of putting it. I like the you did a very political answer right there. I like that. You like that. Yeah, that's
Yes.
good. What does your now growing up in India, like obviously your culture, both your parents are from India as well?
Yes.
Okay. So what does your culture mean to you? And like what is like your fondest moment is like growing up as a child?
I do like smaller things like when it rains, you get that different smell from sand, and then you make boats and paper
Mm,
boats and like do it. All those things I do like, and sometimes I do miss. Other smaller things like when it's so windy, walking outside used to be really nice. And
mm-hmm,
even like houses are very different, right? Like we don't have the concept of rooms. I mean, there were rooms for my grandparents, but typically it's more like you have this big hall, you come, everyone sleeps in the hall, and then you just fold your bed and the day proceeds, right? So the life was very different.
mm-hmm. And do you, when you look back at that life and then you look at the life you have now, is it something where you miss it or do you feel like you're past it?
It's an evolution, right? Always knew I wanted to move to city. I just never thought it's like the life I have now is not something I dreamed of, right? Partly because you just don't have the exposure or you don't know how big, how crazy life can become once you come out of your hometown.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And in your hometown, or even yeah, maybe even after your hometown, like was there a person or a moment or challenge in your early years growing up that made you feel like building was a part of your path?
I think most of the stuff for me is like the moment I came out of my hometown and when I went to my undergrad, when I met different types of people from different cities all over India, it was more like an inspiration because you realize how much exposure you did not have while growing up compared to others. And
Mm-hmm,
the dreams can be bigger. You can go, you can fly much higher if you put in that hard work that's needed. There is always a catch up game you have to do, right? Like in my undergrad, there was 100 people class. They used to have this English test and picked out like 20 people who are at the bottom of the class to help them like train in English. And I was
mm-hmm,
obviously in the 20. At the time, it felt bad, but looking back, all those smaller help was great when I wanted to go for my GRE exams, when I wanted to do my master's.
Okay.
I I don't know if there is any moment in my undergrad or anything that felt like, oh, things are going to shit. It's more like a natural. I always had friends who have always helped me go to the next stage, who always helped me in filling up places where I struggled. And that ecosystem has definitely carried through even now, right? Like, I don't know everything. Mess up a lot of things. I definitely had to learn a lot of cultural things, not just from work, right? Even like behavior, cultural, social things, right? But I always had friends who point out places where I can change, places where I can improve. So it has always been the system that has helped me grow.
I mean, before your career as an engineer and security took off, like, what was like your biggest dream as a child growing up?
I, I definitely wanted electric heater so that hot water is easy to come. And even now I spend a lot of time in shower because of that. That's kind of like
Right.
something I really wanted. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I obviously wanted to be a software engineer to a certain extent. I think being in computer lab started because that's one of the places you get air conditioning. So it's just like one after the other just made computer more appealing. And in
Mm.
my mind, being a software engineer means you would be in air conditioned offices.
So you were looking for the lifestyle. You were like, I want the AC. I want a nice desk, right? And so I could imagine, um, but I get you on that. Sometimes it's the little things,
Yeah,
right?
and then also movies, right? Movies glorified computers.
So you talking about like movies you watched in India.
Yes, in Watch in India.
Okay, that got you kind of like some inspiration to be like, this is
Yes.
what I want to do.
Yes.
Any particular movie you want to dive into? Some any particular movie?
Nothing in particular. I still remember the first movie I watched on a computer, which is like A.R. Rahman music, and it's like a hacker movie kind of thing when I was in second grade. Though I don't
Okay.
remember the name of the movie now.
Yeah, I saw you, but look, you figured it out. Can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit more about like now you did your undergrad, you went to grad school as well.
Yes.
Could you tell us a little bit more about like how your career got started? Like what was the first job out of college and how did you um navigate through that, right?
So I think the first job out of college for me was a company called Cordis. Luckily, again, at that point, I had offers from a lot of big consultancy firms like TCS, Infosys, if you know any of them. And then this Cordis as like R&D. And I wanted to try R&D. I wanted to see how it is to build products. So I ended up going there. And they have this culture of like everyone started as test engineer and you slowly start moving up. So every time I saw someone who is better than me, I just wanted to be like them. I just wanted to be as good as them. So
Mm-hmm.
the 2 years navigating is pretty much just looking up to people, trying to figure out and work on something that's interesting. I think culturally in India, going through this computer science, getting a job, and just growing through the ladder within the job, it's kind of like a well established line for most people. So you are not trying to do anything different. You are just following the path millions other did before you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then from that journey, right, from that first job, you then took that experience and you kind of cultivated it and opened up Flair, right?
Next, I went to Hopkins,
Mm-hmm.
and that's pretty much was like the biggest place where I would say my lot of cultural shock, a lot of lifestyle changes, everything kicked in a sense, like my parents cannot pay for all my semesters easily. So you have to take the education loan. And then I need to take two jobs. And then I had
Mm-hmm.
to do like five grad courses so that I can do things quickly. That means it's like 100-hour week of studying, working. That's all you have in life.
Yeah, yeah, that's a
That's kind
lot
of
right
like
there.
where I started having a very strong work ethic. Even now I do 100 hours weeks for regularly because it's my startup. But I think that's where it all started, right? You started doing it because you're forced to, but that just sticks with you.
Mm-hmm. Now you mentioned something about like that culturally was a shock for you. Like, could you talk a little bit more about that when you went to John Hopkins?
First of all, my class had 8 or 9 Indians, but then a lot of people are not from India. It's pretty much the first time I mix with people outside of the country, or even like going to frat parties and everything was pretty new to me. Like even the
True, true.
smaller things. So culturally, it's like it's a very different lifestyle once you come here, and it took some time. It's not like adopting was time. It more like I was always curious about different things, so there is a lot of learning that made it fun as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I mean, because that American culture could definitely be, especially college life. Like you said, you mentioned keyword frat parties, right? You're going from like having family parties and now having frat parties. Like that's a massive difference. And
I mean,
then
I have been to only like two frat parties or something, but it's just going there was also for me just like
yeah,
an experience.
seeing the experience, and it's being in the
Yeah.
American culture, and not. I mean, obviously, you're in a frat party or you're in John Hopkins, and you're not seeing individuals that look like you, speak like you, or from the culture, or know of your culture very well. Like, how did you feel like adapting through that moment in time when you knew that you were kind of like one in a million at that point?
I think everyone was welcoming, and for example, it's not just from India, right? I had people from Thailand, Greece. So everyone is just in the similar say situation, right? We all moved from different countries, just trying to figure things out. We all became friends. It also helps that everyone has to stay in and around the campus, and Hopkins forces you to be in the lab till 1 a.m. So everyone has to be in the lab till 1 a.m. and then go and grab some midnight food. So you
Mm,
just develop those bonds. The other part of it that was culturally very different to certain extent is because in India, when you go to colleges, you have always been taught that like go and get a job. And then I went to Hopkins and I saw that many people were want to do different things. People want to start their own venture. People want to go into research. The diversity of things people want to do was really good. And that was one of the places where I'm like, okay, I probably can start a company. That's a real thing because my friends have gone on to go and do stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
And
get
then
you.
classrooms, right? In India, classrooms are 80, 90 people. Here I go and take some classes, and professors are like, I would take only 6 people in my class. And then that close knit classrooms environment and the experience was very different.
But I mean, did you feel like you got a better experience by being with six versus
Yes,
the 80?
definitely, because these are really good professors. With 6 people class, they don't have exams, they don't have assignments. The quality of your participation in class is what drives your grades. So people come prepared, people learn a lot, and it's more free flowing, which means everyone is asking questions because of curiosity. Everyone is trying to understand why something could have been solved in a different way.
Hmm,
So the
hmm.
quality was there. Definitely,
So
the experience.
you mentioned that the curiosity, right? I want to go back to this question right here, where curiosity is where in those sessions, did curiosity lead you to Flair?
Yes, it's like every stage of the thing. I was at this company called MongoDB and then to Flair. I before even starting Flair with my co-founder, it ended up being like I went and did a lot of listening exercises as well on how people operate today, what are the issues they have, what are the inefficiencies in their operation. And those answers, seeing those curiosities, what led me to how can I solve it in a different way? I know these problems exist for my users. So can I solve it in different ways? And that's how Flair came.
Hmm, hmm. And you say your co-founder, is this someone you went to John Hopkins with?
No, I started this through this program called Fractal. It's a venture studio model. So you have a pool of non-technical people and a pool of technical people, and you both come together to start a venture.
Okay. And how long has Flair been in business?
2.5 years now?
You said 12?
No, 24, 26 months now.
Oh, 20. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you said 12. I was like, oh, it's 20.
No,
Okay,
two and a
got
half years, little over 2 years.
got you, got you. So from code to customer, like what was like the hardest mind shift for you? I know you had a strong work ethic, but what was like the hardest mind shift when stepping into the CEO role at Flair?
Sales was not something I have been used to before. It's all new, and I just had to learn a lot, and every day is very different. every day's challenge is very different, and you are not just thinking in terms of users, you are not just thinking in terms of product. Now you are trying to marry the number game, as in like how much you are charging people now and how fast you can grow, which feature will help you grow. Because now you are also thinking about fundraise. You are thinking about not just, it's like 100 different things you are thinking about and not just one or two things.
Mm-hmm.
That was more like, it's not just the curiosity. At some point, it's a numbers game, and you need to be very obsessed with those numbers.
Mm. And I like how you mentioned this, the numbers game. Some of our thought leaders before said the same thing, when they were applying for jobs and stuff like that, being first generation or second generation immigrants, knowing that like they couldn't stop at just the first two applications, just being like the law of numbers, really just applying themselves and really advocating for themselves. Was there a time in your life that you felt you had to kind of like step into that role of advocating for yourself, whether at MongoDB or at Flair?
I think Flair is maybe the first place I had to do that. MongoDB and Bloomberg, my previous companies, are very inclusive. Everyone I worked with are really great. So you do your work, you get the credit. But whereas in Flair as a founder, it's very different because you need to talk about yourself. You need to pitch yourself to people in 30 seconds. And I am never used to talking about myself, or at least talking about myself in a way that it's like I'm the greatest person in the world. I know everything in the world. That's never me. But to certain extent, you have to do that. And that
Mm-hmm.
was a little bit harder shift, but now I am getting used to it.
And do you feel that's something that's from the culture growing up in India?
Probably, yeah. I think it might be the culture, is just my personality.
Mm-hmm. You're very humble, you know that, right? You got a lot of stripes in the game, and you're just like, yeah, I'm just chilling. Yeah, you know.
That's what I meant by more like when people ask me questions, I'm like, yeah, it just worked out. But then that's not how you can pitch yourself, especially for fundraisers. You are like, you
Yeah,
have
no,
to.
no, no. I mean, first and foremost, you just said on average, I'm clocking 100 hours a week, right? That that right there lets you know the level of individual you are, right? It's not like I'm down to make I'm trying down to do 20 hours part time and keep it moving. Like you're really wearing some multiple hats, and being a CEO already is a big title, right? It comes with a lot of responsibilities, a lot of leadership roles. How do you feel that you have like utilized your culture and what you knew growing up to kind of help you on your leadership role today?
I think the biggest thing that happened is like culturally, whether it's a culture or my personality, luckily, everyone I have met in the last decade professionally are backing me, are always a call away. I got great mentors because of it, like very successful people in the industry who are happy to mentor me. It's like you don't have to pay them. The truth is like if these are people, if you are made, I didn't make friends. I never actively went and networked with these people. Or they just have seen my work and they are happy to help you out when you need them.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's I feel like whether I don't know whether it's culture or not, doing your work regularly, sincerely has its effect, add-on effects.
Hmm. Hmm. And so, with all your experience, right, opening the company, working at MongoDB, all your previous jobs that you worked previously, and like this is your upbringing, right? What advice would you give to like a brilliant engineer who wants to start a company but feels like overwhelmed on the business side of things?
It is going to be overwhelming. It's not going to be easy. But also, if you want to start a company, you should be okay taking on things that's uncomfortable, that's hard. That's pretty much the difference between starting a company and being the first employee in the company.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm I'm not trying to glorify saying that it's going to be easy, but also you shouldn't be afraid of failing. I think while I was at Bloomberg as an intern, Dan Dotroff, who used to work for Bloomberg when he was a mayor, who went for a bidding for New York City to be in Olympics, failed. And when he came back, no one apparently like gave anything, like no one cared about it. So he used to say that like, hey, until you really are someone who has been really successful, no one cares when you fail. So just don't be afraid and try.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well said right there. You've something that I thinking back to what you said a little bit early in the conversation. We're talking about John Hopkins, and it just in what you're saying, and I'm kind of bringing it back to that. In John Hopkins, I think something that you said that really caught my attention was the fact that like being in an environment you didn't feel alone because everyone was in the same situation. There are people from all over the world, and being in an environment you were like, okay, well, I might not see someone that looks like me or from India or speaks the language, but because we're all in the same boat, where I feel like I'm at home. So
Yes.
that just goes to show like in your many years, it started even at John Hopkins or probably before, but like, building trust across cultures, like especially as a CEO of Flaire. But like, do you feel like any of your experience prior to that, and also John Hopkins, influenced you to lead, listen, and build trust against across cultures?
I think one of the cultural thing we have always done is be respectful of others.
Hmm.
When you are respectful of others, and that is what brings in curiosity, right? When you are respectful, you just are always curious why someone is doing something in a different way and just learn.
True, I get you.
That I
And
don't know whether culture or not is at the end of the day, like I said, it's like I am curious. I like working with other people, so I just want to learn from other people. We, I might or might not agree with everything they do. Doesn't mean you have to look down or look up. It's just like pretty neutral and curious. That's it.
well said, well said. Now, bringing me to like some of my last questions right here. One of the questions, if anything, how do you want to be remembered, right? This is something I always ask a lot of our thought leaders that come on. You know, you're in a position right now. You went from being in India, transitioning to here, school, all these things, MongoDB, Flair. How do you want to be remembered by your team, customers, and how do you want to kind of inspire the next wave of immigrant tech leaders?
It's it's kind of a weird answer I'm going to give. In a sense, like my therapist asks about this a lot these days. I am someone who is happy if I can build a product that outlasts me, or if I can build a company that outlasts me. And it shouldn't be about me. It should be about the company or about the product. I want to be in the background, and that's what puts me in a happy place.
Mm. Mm-hmm, mm. That's other individuals will say, I want to make it to the top. You're saying I want to make it, but I want to build something that could outlast me. Not even just the course of time, but even after your time there spent is gone, you're like, I still wanted to continue on. That is a great philosophy or thought process to have when building a company, because you shouldn't just be building it for the time that you're there and making all that money or whatever relationship that you have. It should be like, I'm building this for the next person, just like any family, a parent, right?
Yes.
They're building something. They're thinking of longevity. They're thinking of financial freedom for their kids. They're like, what can I do to help my kids out? The fact that you have kind of brought that into your business and into the business world, I think it's a beautiful thing to kind of you know mark for you. I mean, it's that the individual again. You're very humble and very down to earth. So it must be because you were in the middle when you were in school.
Probably, I guess.
Yeah, you wasn't causing too much trouble, and you weren't at the top of the class. You were right in the middle, and I feel like the person in the middle sometimes is the ideal person, right? Because they're not favoring one side, right? I feel like that person has the best interest of their community. They're left or right. They could bring people together, and I feel like you are one of those individuals, Harish. I mean, done a phenomenal job, and congratulations again on your business. Um, you're doing you're working it, and you do it with 100 hours a week.
Hey, I have time. So that's something I can give easily.
So I'll leave you with this last question right
Mhm.
here, because a lot of our thought leaders, individuals like yourself, are always working overtime. What do you do for fun outside of all of this right here?
I love hanging out with my friends. I watch a lot of animes.
Okay.
And these days, when I get time, I do watch a lot of Tamil movies like my mother tongue because I don't get to speak in my mother tongue with a lot of people around here. So it's kind of like makes me feel in a happy place, I guess, home place when I watch Tamil movies.
Oh man, Harish, you're a cool dude. I like you. It's the simple things for you. I'm hearing that. It's not like you're like, I like to go skydiving, I like to go scuba diving. You're like, I just like hanging out with my friends. So kudos to you, right?
Yeah.
And congratulations on all your work you've been doing. And I look forward to seeing you in many more journeys that you're going to be on and stuff like that. And I want to let the listeners know, if you want to hear more inspirational stories like Harish, please check us out on ZakaConnect.com. Follow our social at Zaka Connect and follow our feed Zaka wherever you listen to your podcasts.